Okay, it's Mark, and we're going to start our live show. And welcome everybody who's watching already. And doing pretty good, Lego Nerd. Thanks for asking. And welcome Ethan and Ron and Zoo. Get rid of this welcome screen. All right, so tonight's show. First off, I'd like to ask everybody to like and subscribe to our channel. We do this every week, and we do sometimes we do news. We have our 5-week challenges, and also working on a project to let's see here, make sure this is lined up. Actually, it seems like my screen, is that right? Let me see something here. Okay, well, that's about as good as that's going to be. Anyway, so yeah, make sure to like and subscribe to our show. And yeah, so unfortunately for in the world of stop motion, I learned the other day that Peter Sallis had passed away. And if you guys don't know who Peter was, he was the voice of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. And he is a pretty, I mean, his voice is really well known. And of course, Nick Park was one of the people who asked him on a whim to be the voice for Wallace in his first Wallace and Gromit film, which was A Grand Day Out. And so actually, Nick Park was really young and never expected him to comply or to respond to him. And so Peter actually, went along with it. And then Nick Park, of course, went on to work for Aardman Animations, and Aardman actually helped to complete his film. And then they went on to make what was it called, Wrong Trousers, which was like a super huge hit. I actually saw that in Portland when I worked there as part of a film festival, and so it's really cool to watch Wallace and Gromit with a live audience. It's something that a lot of people have never had the opportunity to do. Like usually if you see a Wallace and Gromit film, it's on a DVD or whatever. And of course there were some features that came out after it, but the short films were not widely viewed by audiences in the cinema. So I feel lucky to have seen it. I thought it was hilarious when I first saw it, and I have fond memories of that. And his voice was really pivotal to making Wallace come to life. And it's just kind of a quirky, kind of crazy voice, and humorous, and kind of dopey at the same time. Everybody knows the voice. But so he passed away. He was 96 years old. So I mean, it sounded like he didn't have a long life. He really had a great long life and was surrounded by family when he passed. And they said he passed quietly and peacefully, which, hopefully that's the case. Um, and so let me scroll down here and just say so Wallace and Gromit creator Nick Park led tributes to Salas, describing him as a unique character. He says, "I'm so sad, but feel so grateful and privileged to have known and worked with Peter over so many years. He was always my first and only choice for Wallace," Park said in a statement. He said that working with him was always a delight, and I will miss his wry, unpredictable humor and silliness that started the moment he greeted you at the door and didn't stop when the mic was switched off. Park added that Peter had naturally funny bones and was a great storyteller and raconteur of stage two and would keep us amused for hours. So I mean, obviously people really loved him, and he was a nice guy. So it's a big loss, but of course nothing is permanent. But so if you go on to Facebook, they have the official Wallace and Gromit page, and so they say, of course, he passed away, and there's tons of comments of people just kind of sharing like experiences and their admiration for him. So it's kind of sad, but like I say, that's kind of the way it goes. And some people, this person, Gareth Teagle, says that for me, Peter Salas will always be remembered as Ratty from Wind in the Willows, that wonderful series from Cosgrove Hall that aired during the 1980s. And they got a picture, so you can kind of see. Of course, I mean, I know we've shown some of these in our past episodes when we had our live stream channel. Some really awesome animation in this too. So a lot of people, of course, just recounting their experiences, and Kientio Regis says, my favorite one was when they ran out of cheese, so they built a rocket ship and fly to the moon and get some, because the moon is made of cheese, of course. So yeah, this is the first film that Peter Salas did with Nick Park. That was a Grand Day Out. And yeah, so anyways, if you guys are interested to read more of these comments, you can go to the Wallace and Gromit page on Facebook and like it. And you can also watch some of the videos. So I don't know if Peter Salas had any role in this new film that they're working on. So this one is called Early Man, and it's coming to theaters February 16th, 2018. But if there was any involvement, of course, they would have recorded the voices first. So, they could have recorded voices with Peter Salas. Not really sure, though. But, we'll find out in another year or so. Okay. So, moving forward, we have our 5-week challenges. And let's see here. See if anybody else entered. I think Tamarim, who used to go by Claymara, as you guys all know her as, she posted her entry here. Now, this 5-week challenge, I kind of contemplated if we should extend it for another week, because as you guys remember, our site crashed. I guess that would have been the first week. So actually, this is more like a 1 month, 4-week challenge, which isn't very long. And I think industrial, I think it's a cool topic, but I don't know if everybody else thought that was a cool topic. Only seems like of course one person entered, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch this because it's the only entry, and so Tamarim is going to be able to pick the topic for the next 5 weeks. So if you guys would like to join in, once I find out what the topic is from her, you can enter into our 5-week challenges. Hey, Hoser Lou and Ethan. And so Zoo was mentioning about Peter Salas' passing, saying, oh, it's sad news. And Lego Nerd says, no. And Ron Cole also says, oh, no. And thanks, Lego Nerd, for your compliments as well. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's see if I can load this up on YouTube though, because sometimes, oops, see if I can expand it first. There we go. And go back to the beginning. Now, also, before I go forward here, so Tamaraim is the creator of this video, this short film, short animation, regarding industrial, the topic industrial. But one of the things that she's done is she's actually making videos once every, or they're being released once a week on Mondays. So if you subscribe to her channel, you can actually see those. And you know, it's kind of interesting. Speaking of Aardman, a lot of her, or at least her latest film, kind of has the same vibe and feel of something like Creature Comforts from Aardman, where she records her voice and tells a really short story about her life, and then when she does that, she animates something to it. So it's kind of neat, and I think it's going to be catchy, and I think her channel is going to grow pretty quick. Just my opinion, but anyway, let's watch her short film here. It's 20 seconds.
Hey, what's this? Ah!
So I think that Tamaraim actually is has kind of got this down pat, where she
Hey, what's
spends
this?
just enough time on her characters and short idea, you know, to make it come to fruition. Because I think a lot of people, if you spend way too much time overthinking things and trying to make them complicated and making lots of large sets and things, there's not enough time to really complete an animation for our 5-week challenges. And so this kind of really forces you to, you know, I guess she gets sucked up in there, which is really funny, and then spit out as a seal. But yeah, it's a great concept. It's really short, it's simple, and it's kind of funny, right? So I mean, it's really kind of, you know, a great example. Now the poses and everything are simple, and we've got some replacements here, so she gets kind of sucked down into the hole, which is actually really good, and it's short and it's quick. And then, oop, so you got some, maybe 2 or 3 replacements there until it turns into the seal. So anyways, really great job, Tamaraim, and so you do of course win the challenge because you're the only entry this time. Now hopefully there's no bizarre technical issues with our site where it crashes again. I do have to update part of it, and the last time I did the update was when it crashed, but I think I know how to avoid it this time, at least with regards to the network, which is what I'm going to be updating. And so the network part crashed last time, which would be like the front page and everything, because of our cache system. And so there's some technical stuff behind the scenes, which is actually simple, but you know, if you do something incorrectly, it could crash. But at least I know how to fix it if it does this time. So anyway, that is it for our 5-week challenge. So I will, what I'll do is I will contact Tamaraim and tell her that she has won, and ask her for the next topic so we can get started on that. All right, so anyways, moving forward again, as always, let's see here. I'm going to pop the chat up on the side and move it over here so I can read what you guys are saying. And then turn on the, let's see here, make this bigger for myself. And then turn on the webcam. Oop, there we go. And let me see if I can move this slightly. There we go. Sure we're working. Okay, autofocus is on. Everything looks pretty good, I think. And actually, let me do this so I can also see the video. As you can tell, there's a lot of strange things involved in trying to do a live show. All right. So, let me move my microphone also. So what I did is, before the show, I spent some time and I cast 5 more faces. I cast these 5 faces here as replacements. Now we've got quite a few faces already. We've got these 2, which are kind of similar, but this is more like a This is like a O and a ah and an eh kind of, and a ooh, another ooh. So I need to make a few more of these, and this character has the most. He's gonna have the most lines to speak in our animation. Most of the other characters won't actually say much at all. They're just gonna be kind of being emotional and making like gestures, and we're gonna use a lot of pantomime and stuff because I don't have any voice actors for this. And although I can get people to help, it's just gonna be very straightforward. Trying to keep it simple, which I know this doesn't seem completely simple, but actually, where is my sculpting tool? There it is. Okay, here's my sculpting tool. So anyway, yeah, this particular character, he's the king, and he's gonna sort of give the order to go after one of the mothers because she's taking their apples, and we can't have that. That would be very bad, right? Because apples are, you know, this particular group of residents that live under the king rely on those apples, and if they share those apples, you know, that could be bad news. That could be the end of their civilization as we know it. So the king gets really mad, and he's gonna start yelling and telling people to guard themselves against this horrible menace, somebody that wants to actually eat food, which is horrible, at least in his mind. So the next question is, what is the next mouth shape? I think we need like a We need a for the any words with the R in there, which I'm not sure there's gonna be any, but I want to cover all my bases. Let me see here. And actually, one other thing I want to mention is that if you guys recall, I had this second mother character, and if you guys can remember, I actually cast a few of her faces, and do I have one here? Oh, here it is. So here are her parts. If you guys recall, here's what she looks like. And I cast a few of her faces. But what I did was I actually melted those faces down. And I melted them down because I wasn't sure if I'd have enough of this exact kind of clay, this Avalon orange clay, to make enough faces for the king. And so I've got, I have like a 1 pound block of this orange. So I cast all these faces, and I do actually have a lot of extra. I can show you guys. Here's my pot full of the rest of the Avalon. So I do have enough, but since there's a lot of characters that are orange, what I want to do is for the next batch of characters, to give uniformity in their color, I want to melt it down with some other orange clay, which I have, and it is Sergeant Art clay. So this way I can sort of make sure that, like, if I do run out of clay halfway through making or casting a bunch of faces, that I don't want to have to like for example, for the king, if I had 3 faces that were a slightly different orange color, and I make them speak, and I replace those mouth shapes with new ones, and they're a different shade, it's gonna look really like like the faces, I don't know, popping or changing colors, like a strobe or something. So I want to avoid that as much as possible. So I think 2 pounds of clay is enough. I think with that Sargent Art clay mixed with the Avalon clay, it should be enough to cover all the orange characters. I'm not really sure if that's the case or not, but that's my theory, and I might actually have to buy more orange clay as well. So anyway, the shape is what we need. And yeah, so I'm going to take some of this clay off my spoon. So I have extra here to make the different mouth position. So my Lego nerd says, what do you use to cast the faces? And this is the mold here. It's just silicone. It's Rebound 25 from Smooth On. That's the, it doesn't have to be this particular silicone. There's like a bazillion kinds. As long as it's soft, soft enough to not be too soft, because you don't want it to you don't want to pour your clay in there and then your character completely changes shape due to the volume of the clay. I mean, you could use a really super soft silicone if you wanted to, but the shore hardness, I guess, is 25. If you're, that's why they call it Rebound 25. And anything softer, you kind of risk like the mold deforming when you pour your clay in there, so you don't really want to do that. So the trying to figure out. Figure out how I want to do this. I know at Aardman Animations, they don't use clay that you can melt like this, which to me is kind of strange. Like, why would you not want to use a clay that is meltable? Because it just creates a whole bunch of problems, right? Like, you have to make molds in a more complicated way, and one of the ways that they do it is to make a mold out of silicone, and then they push in like Nuplast clay into the mold. So, like, for example, here's the mold, and they'll take clay and they'll push it in there, and take their thumb and pound it in there. But what happens is, when you pound it in there and the clay is kind of hard, it's a little bit soft, but it's hard, and it'll bulge the mold like this. It'll bulge out as you're pressing it down. So they'll build like a simple plaster Paris wall around it, so that when you compress it in there, the silicone doesn't stretch out. And I couldn't be bothered, I would just go with clay that you can melt like this. But that's one of the reasons why is they have just different kinds of clay in the UK, and that's one of the things that is more easily available to them. So, like Wallace from Wallace and Gromit, he was made from that kind of clay, and it's not meltable or anything like that. So they would make replacement mouths. Like, Wallace has these replacement mouths that are cut off and stuck back on, and yeah, it's just a different process. Let's see. Where's my? Here it is. I hate dropping tools on the floor. It gets like cat hairs and stuff on it. No matter how many times you sweep the floor or whatever, there's always some kind of hairs or dirt or dust bunnies that latch onto your tools. Or your clay, if you drop your clay on the floor. Hey, Tune R, welcome. And Dude Man 7. And Enematost. Okay, so this is going to be the shape. Or phonum, or, you know, if you want the technical term. I think I need to make a bigger lower lip here. Thanks, Lego Nerd. Yep. Trying to make it look good. Sometimes it's not so easy. But yeah, I think we're making some good progress. I think even though I'm only doing this, you know, for an hour per show, we got a lot done. And once everything is sculpted, the animation part will be actually pretty quick. This is what really takes the most time, is trying to get all these little, you know, faces made and the details. And so Jason says, one of these days I'll find a shaping tool like that. He says, I see you use it for everything. Which one? Is it the steel one? 007 wax spatula? Or this little one? This is actually pretty cool. You can do all kinds of stuff with this guy here. And make like pores and skin textures and stuff. And Hoserloo says it has a certain dentist quality while working on the mouth area. Well, it actually is supposedly it's a dental tool. It's used for, you know, making dentures, I think. I think this is the tool that they used to make dentures with, to sculpt them. In the old days, you know, now they use like 3D printing and 3D scanning and stuff, which is really, really high tech. I think that my cat wants to leave. Let me let him out real quick. Oh, okay, yeah, the 007. And do I feel motivated by doing it live? Actually, I feel pretty motivated to work on it, even if it wasn't live. But if it wasn't live, I don't know if I would have as much done as I do, because I do a lot of other things creatively. So I think his lower lip still needs to be a bit fatter because he's got fat lips. I'm just gonna add a little bit more meat to these two parts. This is made from stainless steel, so the whole tool is made from steel. There are silicone tools you can buy, but I don't have any of those. Some people use those. They're what are they called, like shaper tools or something like that? Silicone shapers. And I've never tried those. I mean, I could try them, but I'm pretty much happy with what I use already. Let's see here. This is probably pretty good. And so I use as you guys probably remember, I use a brush for smoothing, and I've been using this to smooth out one of my other sculptures for somebody that's like a full scale sculpture, and the bristles are getting really just mangled, and I think that I need to just get another brush. I think this one's just about seen its day. So I'll try to clean it off and use it here. It'll still work, but sometimes the bristles will spread out and you can't really control the way you smooth as well. So also before the show, I took this container and I took a fresh paper towel and put it in here and poured some mineral oil in there, and so I use this on the brush, and I'll just kind of rub the brush over it like this, and that gets the bristles a little bit oily, and it allows the bristles to glide over the sculpture and smooth it out. So this is kind of how you do it. So you alternate between, brush bristles for details and then your finger to kind of clean it up, all the larger areas. And like I say, this brush here is not the greatest anymore. Like, there is a lifespan to your brushes that you smooth with, because eventually that clay gets in all the little crevices and you can't really clean it up anymore. Am I using a magnifier? Nope. I don't use one. Oh, the Angelina Jolie. My client that I made that for, it's not painted and finished yet. Actually, there's a guy that paints those up, and his name is David, and he works for a company called Dash and Dazzle, and he has a lot of clients, and he paints mannequins and stuff for a lot of people. And so my client sent, or I think he sent it or is sending it off to have it painted, and that's going to be done within like the next, I think, 6 months. So it's a ways off, but once it's done, he said he's going to send me pictures. So I hope it looks nice. I don't really know what's going to happen though. I mean, he's a great painter, so I imagine it will look pretty neat. But once I cast it, I'm pretty much done with the actual job. Like, I don't paint him up or anything like that. But I should take one and like cast it in silicone and make it realistic and all, and But I don't know. I would probably, if I wanted to do something like that, what I might do is start from scratch. Like make one that I really want to make realistic. Like, I don't know who I'd pick. Use my knife here. It's a little small here, right there, to get rid of. But there's some artists that do that. Like there's this one guy that made this gigantic Abraham Lincoln sculpture, and he cast it in silicone and made like super giant realistic eyeballs. So if you look at it from a distance and you don't see anybody standing next to it, you would think it's a full-sized head. But when you stand next to it, the head is like, 5 foot tall or something. And there's like skin pores and there's, all this other stuff. It's like hyper realistic. And I've always, thought, can I do something like that? Can I make something that's believable? So I might do that one day just to challenge myself and try to make a realistic silicone head of some sort. But I don't know, it's probably a ways down the road. Because like they used to do that a lot in movies for like stunt doubles and stuff. You'd have to make a realistic mask for a stunt double, and they could use like silicone and like what was that in Aliens, where you had that guy that was, he's like a cyborg or whatever. He's a robot, but he looks like a real person. And then when they kill him, he's like cut in half, and it's got it looks like milk. I think they used milk as blood for him. And they had to make like a realistic version of his face and everything for that. Even like the Terminator films, they did that. There's like one where Arnold Schwarzenegger has got his head blown off, whatever. So it's kind of neat how they used to do that, but they pretty much use digital nowadays. So a lot of those skills are, like, what do you do with it? Like, you can't utilize it anymore for films. I mean, I guess you could if you make a personal film, but so painted or fired. So Jason, the head that I made is gonna be, it was cast in plastic, and then let's see here, it was hollow cast. So I've got a head. Let me see. I know this is really big, but this is Kristen McMenemy. She's like a supermodel that I sculpted for my client. So here's, the outside part, right? And here's the inside. So it's hollow. It's just plastic. So there's no firing process to it. It's just, that's it. And then it's going to be attached to a mannequin body or whatever he does with it, and then painted, and it's going to be for like a clothing kind of display. They're going to put clothes on it, and just, that's it. Like if you go to a wax museum, that kind of a thing. Which is kind of cool, I guess. I mean, it's like those DC and Marvel model kits, like people like to just collect that stuff. But some people like to get, full-sized props and things like that. Like I saw one guy, he made a sculpture of Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and whatnot from the Star Wars films. And that whole sequence where they're in the trench in the Death Star, or not in the trench, but in that tunnel where the princess was, the prison area, and they've got all their stormtrooper outfits on. And so they made these sculptures of their heads, and then they put them on the bodies of the stormtroopers. Well, they got like a mannequin, and they put the stormtrooper outfit on there and put their heads and posed them. So it's like a scene actually from the Star Wars film, like a full scale one. So there's some fans out there that really are into that, recreating, movie moments and stuff. All right, so what's the next face that I need to do here? I think the V or the F. So I need to do that next. Let's see. Oh, I need to do like an E as well, don't I? Well, let's do that on this one. To E. This will be the F. Let's see. So Anamitas says, was this short a spontaneous idea? I mean, a few years ago you were with the zombie pirates and now you're so into this process. Was it like a sudden idea that you decided to carry? Yep, it is. Just what's going on out there with politics, I think there's a lot of hate out there right now. A lot of people actually dying because of politics. And this king resembles a politician. Somebody that people follow because he's a ruler, and it's kind of an answer to that. But also with Zombie Pirate Tales, I don't really have enough space to make that. So as much as I wanted to do that, if I were to try and expand on it, I would need a lot more space. And I just don't have it. Don't have the space. So, and the space and the money. I don't have enough money to really do what I want to do. So I decided to move on from that. I still love the idea. Like, if I could still do it, I would. But it takes too long just to do it alone and this here is a much quicker process to do. Trying to imagine what this is going to look like here. I think I need to show a little bit of upper teeth. So I think I'm going to like cut out this upper part here. Yeah, I wish, Zombie Pirate Tales was something that I really wanted to do. And stick with. And I had actually an idea for the next one that I was going to do. It was going to be like a there was not going to be any voice acting in it. It was going to be music based, where there was a sea shanty, like a traditional music that they used for like if there are people out on the sea, they would sing these songs and stuff. But it was not going to have any song like actual words either. It was just going to be like the accordion and the violin and all these like traditional instruments. And everybody was going to be acting to the beat of this song. And there were going to be the two ships, the pirate ship and the other, the Defiance ship that was the good guy ship. And they were going to shoot cannonballs at each other and all this and that. And I had some of it storyboarded, but it's too complicated to do, unfortunately. By yourself. It's not too complicated to do, but it would just take me, 10 years to do another 2-minute film, and I don't want to wait that long. don't want to wait that long. So I had to be a little bit more efficient about making films. That's the main reason, is just efficiency. Because it doesn't pay the bills, and so like I showed you before, I'm sculpting for people and doing art jobs for people that are, that's paying the bills, but it also takes a lot of my time. So let's see. I think I'm gonna put just a little piece of clay for an upper tooth area. Hey, Hebra, thank you. Thank you for the compliments. So I'm going to put this in here. It's going to be the upper tooth, or teeth. And doesn't have to be intricate, but just enough to see so that when he makes that F shape, that you can actually tell that the tooth is over the lip and that the lower lip is kind of going underneath it. So I think something sort of like that, maybe. And I think also I'm gonna like sculpt this, chop that part off so that the contour looks like it's also going in this direction underneath that tooth. Let's see. This might look pretty good. Let's see. If not, I might add a piece of clay back on there. So Lego Nerd says, I can't wait for summer. My dad might make me a pottery wheel and I will probably make lots of pots. That's cool. And Animatos says, we gotta make animation be also fluid in the sense of ideas. If you all of the sudden think you should make a puppet, does nonsense or animate an object? Yeah, I mean, being spontaneous is kind of nice. Let's see if this looks good or not. From Venezuela, cool. And Mexico, awesome. And Costa Rica, so that's nice. You guys are from all over the place. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I wish I could visit those places. It's a lot of nice places out there, but maybe if I retire, if ever I win the lottery and retire, maybe I'll visit you guys. And Toon is from USA. Same place as me. It's kind of cool, you know, like the world is not, I mean, it's a big world, but with the internet, there's like almost no barriers to talking to other people. You can be on the other side of the planet or 1,000 miles away. Okay, so there's the F. I don't know if I like it 100%, but let me just like add like little details, like his lip is being scrunched. I think that would make it look a little bit better. All right, so we got 2 more shapes. Let's see what time I got. 10 more minutes. Oop, 10 more minutes. So we got the and the F. Probably slightly extend that a little bit, and then maybe bring this part in. Kind of like a fish mouth there. It's gonna round this lip a little bit. So one thing about if you guys are ever trying to make something look natural, always try to make sure there's no sharp angles. You want to make sure that everything has a little bit of a curve to it. It just kind of helps things look, you know, organic. So that's what you should think of striving for if you want it to look like a real face, you know, something that has muscles and fat and skin and all that. You know, it's gonna have a bunch of flexibility and a lot of curves to it. All right. And then the E shape. Oh, man, excuse me. So E. So I think I'm gonna go from above these 2 teeth. This is gonna be where I cut the mouth. Maybe. Let's see. No, I think it should be a little bit below that point. Maybe halfway. Somewhere about here. To this cheek. And to this cheek. Something like this. So I think that the lower or the outer edges of his mouth are going to be angled down because he's kind of an angry dude, you know. And I don't want him to look like he's ever smiling. Almost like that's impossible for him to do. You know. So angry that he wants to control the world. If he doesn't get his way, that would be horrible. That'd be like devastating to this character. So he's gonna be like your typical drama-loving, narcissistic kind of person. A lot of people are like that, you know. They do stuff just to create drama because it makes them feel good. And for some people, drama is a drug, you know. So that's what this guy is all about, is just being dramatic. So when I make the mouth shape here, I want to make sure that since his mouth will be opened, if I were to compare it to this one here, it's open, so I want to make sure that that lip of his, which is kind of big, that lower lip is still big, and it's going to be down here. So I got to sort of puff that part up just slightly and add some meat to these two parts. And if you look at lips, the middle part of your lip kind of goes in a little bit, both in the upper and lower lip. And for some people, it seems like it's like your lower lip goes straight across, like there's no line in the center. But if you put a sharp light, like the light from this direction, really sharp, you would notice that the center part kind of goes in a little bit. So I'll try to recreate that a little. It's got to have that fat lower lip, and it's going to be stretched as well, so it doesn't have to be necessarily fat, but it's got to be visible. So Randy says sculpting Fs is tricky. Yep, that's one of those. It's kind of like trying to imagine what it would look like on a character that's not human, and also being able to like flow into the other mouth shapes that you've made. You gotta kind of hope that it works, and then when you animate it, you find out if your theory of how it's supposed to look actually does work. And I might, before I do the animation, I might actually make like a couple of extra heads, so that during animation, if there's something that doesn't look right, I can always, like, on the spot try to sculpt something that does work with the other mouth shapes. You could always like tweak stuff digitally too. Like you could, if you make a mouth shape and you want to make like an in-between, for example, these two mouth shapes, you could do that digitally. You could sort of like stretch one out a little bit in Photoshop, that kind of a thing, if you really wanted to. This here would have like a little crease right at the corner of the mouth too, where the corner of the mouth meets the cheek. I think would definitely have like this little bit of a stretchy kind of crease, wrinkle, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. So yeah, once I get some teeth in here, it'll look like exactly what I want, hopefully. And let's lay it down. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm gonna smooth it. So I'm gonna take again, this is just mineral oil on a paper towel inside of a cup to contain it, so you don't get oil all over the place. And I'm just gonna go in here and kind of smooth out everything. And you can also dip your finger as well inside the oil and just kind of smooth over everything. All the external parts that are, large and that you can actually get access to. Because obviously your fingers can't get in all the details. kind of wish I had a less or a smaller brush for this, but I think this will work pretty nice. Let's see, what time is it? And it's already 9 o'clock, man. So I guess next week what I'll do is we're going to probably do the same thing that we did the last time, where I'm going to take black paint and paint these eyeballs and paint inside the mouth and everything here. Actually, I'm going to add teeth to this one, so I'm probably not going to paint inside the mouth, so I don't need to. I just want to make sure this looks good before I get to that point. I want to make sure it's nice and clean. Alright, so here's what it looks like. Your fingers can really do a great job smoothing. You know, if you don't press too hard, or as long as you're looking at what happens as you're smoothing with your finger, you adjust your finger pressure depending on what the result is. To what your clay is kind of telling you. Obviously clay doesn't talk, but it gives you some feedback, and you can at least see how it's going to turn out as you go. All right. Oops. All right, so there's the F. And this is going to be the E. And the R. There it is. Alright, so anyway, next week we'll work some more on this and probably finish up all these mouth shapes. Next week I'm probably also going to think about what I might be missing, depending on what the dialogue is. Maybe I need to add another one or two. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think I got all the proper phonemes, but yeah, we'll see about that next week. So let's see. Let's see what you guys were saying first. All right. Well, thanks, Lego Nerd. And have I ever used a pottery wheel? I have not. I have not. I've used, wet clay, and I use that for a lot of my sculptures, and you use that to make pottery with. But I never used a pottery wheel. That's pretty neat, though. All right. Well, anyway, guys, I am going to end the show. I guess I will see you guys all next week. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe. See you all later.